Welcome back, everyone, to I think the first time we've ever done something like this. This is going to be, this is a mouthful, our 2021 hits and misses, ... so far.
So that's the key part, because it's August right now.
It is August, and I guess what we're saying is there's plenty of time left for a lot of good games and maybe some bad games.
Oh, there's some time in the rear of the gear. Trust me.
Yeah, we got Gen Con Origins, Essen, normally all coming out, so there will be a ton of games in the back end. So maybe we'll do another one of these for the back half of the year.
Maybe we'll revisit what we say here today. And what we are going to say here today, and as you can tell, we have the whole crew here. We've got Emily, Jeremy, Ryan, and myself. And we're all going to share our hit, sort of our one hit of the year so far in 2021, and unfortunately, our one miss, which is not necessarily a bad game for everybody, but it was a miss for us personally.
Everyone's got misses.
I want to say this out in front of the game. Like I often say this, and when I'm around spots, there are a lot of games that are okay and they're good. Generally, there's a lot of good. Like
there's a lot of good.
And I always say like they're good and forgettable as well. Like mostly are good and forgettable, or they're good for one play. And that comes from a person that, like I said, we just get a lot of games sent to us. I'm buying a lot of games. You find it. It's like, hey, that was good. Played it once. I'm good. But I can at least say, hey, check the game out. But like it's like, I'm good. Thank you. Like, thank you. But like, it is not. It's rare because I'm paying attention to stuff that a game just flat out stinks. And then there's also the rare that is like, this stands above all of these games.
Yeah, but there's the expectation.
Yes.
That's the miss for me, is when you have the expectation of great and you play it and then you're like, oh, it was just okay.
Yeah.
Which isn't, it's not a bad game. It just isn't what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, expectations are always a thing. And that's like in today's society, most people are judging things based on their expectations, be it movies, games, whatever.
I wanted this to be this way.
I wanted it to be exactly like this, and it's not like this. This is bad. I don't think I try to avoid feeling that way. Yeah. But sometimes expectations are set. Yeah. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is going to be this way, and it isn't quite that way, and it just doesn't land with you.
Well, we're going to start with hits, though, right?
We are going to start with hits.
Big hits.
And we're going to start with Emily for her hit of 2021.
My big hit for 2021 would be Kanban.
Yeah, Kanban
EV specifically, yeah.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun. I really, really liked this game. I didn't go in with any expectations, really. I mean, my gaming group was like, this is a great game, you'll love it. But they say that about a ton of games, so
who cares about what they
think?
I
kind of go into it like, okay, we'll see. But I really liked it. It was really heavy. It had a lot of great mechanisms going into it. We ended up playing it like a couple weeks later.
Not even. It was like 3 days later.
Was it really?
wow.
Oh my gosh.
Because we played it, because we do a couple meetup. We do a weekly meetup, and then we also do sometimes weekend meetups. Mm-hmm. And we played it on a Saturday. And remember, we got back to Tuesday, and we were like, well, what are we going to play? And we were like,
oh yeah, we just said, let's just do it again.
We still got Kanban right here.
What did you like about the game? Because it's the only Lacerda I think I haven't played.
Oh,
I do own it. I do own it. Lacerda is my favorite designer by far, but that's the one I have not played.
So the way the game plays is there are different kind of places on the board you can go, and I think there are 5, maybe 6. I think it's 5. And the 6th part is like the weekly.
Right.
There are daily things that happen and weekly things that happen. So it feels a lot like a bunch of mini games that are coming together that are working with each other. So you're like, okay, I want to make a car, but before I make a car, I need to have a design. But to get a design, I need to have components. And everything you're doing, though, really feels like it's going to pay off in some way. So even when you can't do the move you want to do, you're still doing a move that's going to pay off later. But it's a lot about the timing, a lot about the timing, because the way you're placing your pieces will depend who's going first. And if you're going first in that kind of mini game, you get a better reward.
Okay.
But you might hurt from it later, depending on how you did it. So I thought it was amazing. I thought, especially even in our second game when we played it, there were things that I was picking up on, like, oh yeah, maybe this time I don't actually want to go for the better reward because I want the timing to work for me where I'm coming later. And like telling people that, like, well, it doesn't really matter if I pick first or second. It does. It always does. Everything always mattered. And that felt really rewarding then in the end when you had these great plays come off and you were like, I'm doing this, which does this, which does this. And you're like, how did you get all those things? Yeah. And you're like, well, this has really been like 5 moves in the making for me to get here.
Yeah. That's cool.
So what I like about Kanban, I love Kanban too. It's the theme of you're all workers in a car factory.
Yep.
And so it's not cooperative in any way, but there is an element of cooperation. Because if Emily takes a shift in some place, everything's moving. Oh. She's adding parts to cars. Mm-hmm. She's researching designs that I can
board
use.
State.
Yes.
Well, not just changing the board state, but also increasing the value of certain cars.
Right.
So if Emily's putting a lot of money into researching green cars, and I'm like, I can build some green cars. I can take advantage of the work that other players have done. So there is that cooperative element, and also you have a boss, which is crazy. And the boss goes from worker placement spot to worker placement spot, evaluating how much you have contributed to that area of the game board.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm hype.
It's so cool. And like, when the boss has a name, he gave it a name. I don't remember.
Sarah, maybe.
Sandra,
maybe. I think that is.
But when the boss comes to any given area of the board, they look and they see, how have you done? Have you contributed to this part of the game? And if you haven't, they penalize you.
Yeah.
And if you've done really well, they give you some kind of bonus. Yes. So it's super interesting.
As Sarah does that in the game.
Sandra, I think it's Sandra.
Sandra. Yeah. Do people at the table go, "Oh, Sandra's coming"?
Oh yes,
they definitely do.
100%. Like, oh my gosh! But like it's like it's worker placement. So Sandra will move down the line or whatever.
So you know when she's coming.
So you know when she's coming, but you can, if two players take all of the worker placement spots in a section, she'll have to skip it. So you kind of collaborate. Like, I don't want her to evaluate this section. Let's go work this section right now. Yeah. So she has to skip it.
Just so you know, if you're looking forward to Weather Machine, there's some of that in there.
Is there in Weather
Machine? There's a little scientist that moves around like that and kind of makes things better.
Interesting.
So yeah, and makes like.
Yeah, so if you're interested in
interested in Weather Machine, you definitely want to pay attention. I mean, you like Kanban, and I like now that I'm hearing what you're saying. Like, that makes me very excited to play this game.
Would you say,
it was great. It was a lot of fun.
The two of you, would you say, you've played some other Lacerdas, right? Mm-hmm. On Mars and Escape Plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I've played several too.
Heavy, is the heavier one?
It's pretty heavy.
It's pretty heavy. Kanban is pretty heavy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And when it comes to scoring, because like Emily said, there's like weekly stuff and daily stuff. And you're scoring based on whether or not you're having a team meeting or whether you're like actually out testing the cars on the racetrack.
I kind of, even though I'm not a big heavy player, it sounds interesting to me.
It's very interesting. I would give it at least a go, even if you're not a heavy person.
It's super interesting. And then at the end of the game, you're scoring for all of the cars that you've designed, but every player's kind of work together to make these cars more valuable, because every time you upgrade a car, you put a little token out on the board in that car's area, and you look and see how many total tokens are on a car. That's how developed that car is. So you're going to score more points for your cars. So
David, but I want to make this clear. There are only 3 actions in the game, but there are 17 executive actions that you can take. There are only 3 things you can do on your turn.
Like it's you say, like, I can teach you the game. I can teach you the game in like 5 minutes. Yeah. Look, David, it's a worker placement game. Here are the 5 spaces you can go to, and that's it.
Yeah.
But then it's like, once you take the action, you're doing the action. You're doing some sub actions. You're doing some other actions based on how much you've contributed to that department. Yeah. So there's so much going on that leads to it being heavy. Mm-hmm. It's so satisfying.
Great game. It sounds like a great game.
That does sound good.
You'd love it. I'm glad that you... See, we were right about that one.
You were definitely right about that one. I loved it. I was even happy playing it the second time. I loved it the second time even too. I'd play it again right now if you gave it to me.
Does it help that you won both games?
I mean, it helps a little bit. But...
She sounds like she wins a lot of those games.
Yeah. Well, we kind of have an inside joke. I don't know what it is about Emily and Lacerda games, but she's won every Lacerda game we've ever played so far. Wow. So we'll see what happens. That's 4 now.
It's too much pressure that's mounting, honestly.
2 Kanbans, On Mars, and Escape Plan. She won all of them. So,
well, my game is nowhere near as heavy as that. In fact, I was thinking about talking and droning on and on and on yet again about Cuba Libre. Okay. But I'm not going to, because Jeremy's going to accuse us of having a coin cast again. But that was a good experience. No, my hit so far this year, and a lot of my hits fall into sort of a lighter experience. And this isn't exactly light, but it's a different experience. It's definitely not a Lacerda game. And that's the Initiative. I played through the campaign of this, which is about 14 scenarios, with my wife. And I didn't know much about this game when it first hit. And the box looks really cool. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a game within a game. There's this meta thing going on. So I can't talk a lot about it.
We're about to start it.
Because there is spoilers. It is definitely a game that you don't want to know everything about. So I will avoid all that. With that said, and I think you know this immediately as soon as you start playing, is you're playing there's this sort of storybook that's like a graphic novel, and there's these 4 kids, and you, the players, are playing as these 4 kids. But in the first page of this graphic novel, they find this board game called The Key, I think, at a garage sale, and they buy it, and they're playing that game, and you're them playing that game. So then, for what you're playing in the game is the key. And so you're sort of playing these roles, and then as you play sessions of the key, which evolve over time, that's all I'll say, but they evolve over time. Then between sessions of what you're actually playing, you go back to the graphic novel, and it's kind of like an evolving story that sometimes depend on how well you did, and sometimes not. But storylines will branch like a choose your own adventure based on some of these things. And then they'll go on to your next scenario, which may be a different experience than if you did well or not. So it's this branching sort of thing. Then there's like meta stuff going on in the graphic novel too that also starts to become a game in and of itself.
Okay,
like,
I'm sold. Yeah, I'm sold, David.
It's such
hype, and I may have to rip it out of the wrapping that I have on it.
Yeah,
right
I haven't even.
I bought it as an impulse purchase months ago.
I did the same thing.
No, I want you to rip it out and make sure I play this game.
I will say this: you are not prepared for what this game is.
Oh, really?
You already sold me, David.
And now I don't want to oversell it, but I can tell you for fact, if you don't know anything about it and you own it, or if you're going to get it, you do not know. Even with what I've just said, which is probably a bit too much, you don't know what you're going to expect here. Now, the game itself, when you're playing the key, turns into sort of this really interesting puzzle-solving game, which in and of itself is a fairly straightforward game. There's this cool little component that you put a card in. You don't want to look at the front of the card, so you look at the back and put it in. And then you flip it over, and it's got all these little windows like Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
And it's some sort of sentence or phrase, like the first scenario is a phrase that you're trying to figure out, and the game is fairly straightforward. You're moving your avatars around this map, collecting these like intelligence, these little files that have weird symbols on them. When you find a symbol and you actually take that symbol, you're able to see that symbol on your card, flip up the window underneath it, and see the letter.
That's cool.
And then you're like, that's just like Wheel of Fortune, right? So you don't have to reveal the whole thing. At a certain point, you can go, wait a minute, I think it's got to be this.
Right.
And the reason why you'd want to guess early is because the way you're maneuvering around the board is almost like the mind, because you're playing cards out of your hand into these 4 stacks.
Okay.
And you want to, it's not quite like the mind, but it's
like the game, you mean? Like when you have to play higher or lower?
Yeah, and you can't tell people what's in your hand.
Yeah.
But when you play a card on a stack, you have to play higher than the card that's already on the stack.
That's the game,
in order to do the action. And there's 4 different actions. So if someone plays a 12, which I think is the highest card, on a stack that lets you move, no one's moving until there's another action that lets you reset a stack.
Gotcha.
I'm hyped.
And then eventually, there's these 3 danger cards that get shuffled into the deck. And if you reveal 2 of those danger cards, your game's over and you've lost.
There's a little bit of a push your luck.
Well, those cards aren't in the stack at first. When you go through the whole stack of cards and then you have to reshuffle, then you're like, we've got to solve the puzzle, because at any time, if someone draws those cards, you're done.
So cool. I cannot wait to play this.
So you're forced then to go, okay, wait a minute. I wasn't sure what the puzzle is, but let's think about this for a second.
Now I got to get smart.
You got to get smart. And so then those puzzles evolve. The things you're looking at the window aren't just sentences in English eventually. It becomes layers upon layers of cryptic.
Oh my gosh.
Sort of using ciphers, and we had Alicia.
You've already sold me, David.
Jesus, stop.
It's crazy.
You can't handle it, David.
So, question, David.
Yes.
You played it at 2 then, you and Alicia?
Yes. Well, we here's the interesting thing. We played it at 2 and 3. Her son played the first 2 scenarios with us, and then we kept playing. And it's built such that it doesn't matter.
Okay.
In fact, we could play at 2, and then if 2 people came in, they could play with us. Now, we'd probably want to bring them up to speed on what happened in the narrative of the graphic novel. But other than that, to play the actual key part of the game, You don't need that at
That's
all.
super cool.
Those
That's super
sessions,
cool.
in and of themselves, are what they are, and you really don't need to know what happened
is super
before.
cool.
That's
or
awesome.
after. But it was a really good experience. We played the 14 scenarios. I think we lost 2, and it is so, it's so disappointing to lose one because we were
Right.
like, we don't know what this is. I'm gonna draw a card, and then you draw the card, and you're like, oh man, and you lost. But then
2's not bad.
Yeah.
2 out of
no,
14.
2 out of 14 it wasn't bad. But yeah, it was. In fact, just talking about it right now, or like where I was remembering it,
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm gonna get up and go play right now.
and there are a ton of extra like one-off scenarios that you can play.
Oh, that's even better because of course games like that they get too
What did I say?
like
I
you
said,
finish that.
Stop selling the game.
I know,
I'm
but then
sold.
but to have the one-offs is a big selling point. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, there's a
to
ton.
have
Like
one-offs.
there's a stack of scenario cards as thick as what we've played through or thicker.
Oh, that's
really?
nice.
Yeah, that
That's
you can
nice.
just play. Now, with that said, we haven't gone back to that because I assume you miss out on
the narrative.
that meta thing that's going on is insane.
Cannot wait.
And some of the reveals are like, what?
I will report back after I've played this.
Yeah, I hope you will. Next Chit Chat.
I might not be my next Chit Chat, but I'll try. I'll do my best.
We devoured it in 2 weekends. We blasted
Wow.
through the whole
Wow.
thing.
Wow.
So that was my hit of the year
That's,
so far.
that sounds like a big
That was
hit.
big.
Now I feel like I got nothing to top
I
that.
know,
No,
that,
but-
that was wow.
So my big hit this year, it was Hadrian's Wall. This was a game that I was anticipating. I knew I was probably going to like it, but I didn't realize how much I was going to like it. Like, this is a roll and write, which I love roll and writes. And this is from Garfield Games.
Garfield, yeah.
Am I
Garfield.
pronouncing that right? And they've done all like the Paladins and all those games, which I love. So I knew that this was going to be a lot of things going on that hit me. I like games where you can combo, where you do one thing
You can definitely
that
combo.
lets you
You
do
can
another
definitely
thing.
combo.
Yeah,
in
that's-
Hadrian's
And
Wall.
I have never played a game like Hadrian's Wall where it's like, okay, I'm checking off this one box. Oh, this gives me this symbol. Oh, this
Yeah.
gives me one of these. Oh, this gives me, and then I'm like, blah blah blah
Yes.
blah blah. And I'm like, now I've got this pile of resources in front of me. I got all these meeples to spend, and you're spending these meeples to do other actions, and you are doing so
So
much.
many
You are
actions.
doing
Yeah.
so much on your turn, and you're just like, you're turning these meeples in, and you're just going up these different
This is
and there's
heaven for Ryan,
tracks
man. This
everywhere.
is
This
heaven.
is.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at this thing,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my gosh.
This is everything he wants.
It looks like a lot at first. Like, it's very intimidating to look at. And there's
Sure.
some wonky rules of, like, you can only go so far on this track until you've done
There
this
are-
other thing. And
yeah.
Yeah.
you got to pay attention to that stuff. But most of the thing is just looking for the symbol, check a box, spend a meeple, like, get something. Almost every box you're checking is giving you something back.
It's got to be one of the, if not the most robust roll and write, flip and write, whatever, and
definitely.
writes
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh,
other
for
than-
sure.
that you'll ever play. I know I've heard Fleet, the dice game, is also quite that
Roman
much.
roll would be like a Euro.
Yeah.
This
And
one,
I
but like
also-
this
This
one's
one-
right on par with that.
This one,
yeah.
when you look at the 2 sheets, like this, if I didn't say the initiative, I was going to say Hadrian's Wall.
Really, that's
because
great.
This is another one I played with Alicia, and I talked to her before we recorded this, and that was the first one she thought of too. She's like, well, Hadrian's Wall, because she loves combos.
Oh, it's
And
Yeah.
so
what I'll
sweet.
say about this one in terms of the combos and how it works differently, and this isn't a mechanic as it is just a table experience. The fact that they're actual resources that you're collecting
Right,
and
and
spending,
actual
Nice.
meeples.
That was an element that I
it
was
makes
like, yeah.
it makes the experience far more tactile. So it turns a combo from I did this to this to I did this to this. I'm
Yeah.
gonna spin, and the tactile experience of all these resources going back and forth
Right.
between the main general supply and you absolutely did it for us. It makes it just way more fun.
And if that wasn't enough already, the right side, there's 2 pages.
Yeah.
The left side feels like a pretty standard roll and write. The right side is a bunch of different mini games where you're like
Yes.
you're training up gladiators.
The
to send these
gladiators is
gladiators
great.
into battle, or you're trading resources. You're looking at the cards that other players have played, and you're giving them resources to mark off boxes.
Tetris thing.
Tile
Or the
kinda.
placement.
Tetris,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
scouting, where you're like looking at the different cards, and there's multi-use cards everywhere in this game, and
Yeah.
you're looking at the cards everyone played to see what symbol they have, so you can mark it on your little Tetris grid.
It really
All of
is.
these little mini games, and there's the picked invasion where you have to like defend your wall, and you
Yeah.
can send diplomats out. Like there's just so
Yeah, defending your wall at the end of the round. Now,
Yeah.
now everybody has like this big reveal at the end. Like it's like, all right, now that we've done everything we're gonna do,
right.
who protected their walls? So
Well, and that just adds
yeah,
almost not push your luck, but just that whole. It's just fun when
the
you're like
reveal, as I
you're-
tell people, like,
yeah.
that's a big one. Like I
Flipping a
like games
card.
that have the big reveal, and there's like a thing of like everybody's like, all right, No right.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There's like 3 different.
Okay, I got enough of that. Hold on.
Enough center.
They
Yeah.
can come
How many
from
cards
3
we draw in
different
this round?
sides,
You know, like-
right? And so you might be looking at other players' player boards and be like, okay, well, I see Emily's really protecting her right. I'm going to protect my right as well. So if we're both in trouble, then at least we're both in trouble.
Yeah,
Sure.
or
Right?
you
or
could
you
go
try to do the opposite,
do the opposite, and
but then
and,
there's a gamble.
yeah, and it's almost as exciting to fail during the pick invasion as it is
Yeah.
to
Just like-
succeed. But it's just like it's sure
Well, there's
enough
mitigation
you've
for that.
defended
Yes.
up here. Yeah, that's the other thing. The other side of the board
It's
is
mitigation
all
upon
sorts of things
mitigations,
to
yeah.
mitigate this. And I know your head is like, I've never played this. I don't understand anything you guys are talking about.
Perfect. Play it. You'll
Yeah, you
understand
really
immediately.
need to try Hadrian's Wall. It is a really good. That's probably going to be one of my top games.
I've played that game so many times since it came out. Since that first time we played it like 3 times that weekend, and I've played it several times since.
I would also say that the solo mode is very good. This play is good at all player counts.
Yeah.
And by the way, with the solo mode, they have a campaign that they did publish.
Oh,
So if you
what?
are interested in
That's
this,
cool.
That sounds
they do
cool.
have a campaign that you can download because they kept working on the game, which is something that I think is a gigantic selling point. That game is up there.
It is.
It's up there.
And it's not like it seems like a lot, but they boil it down in ways that are very easy. Every section
Yeah.
is kind of self-contained, and the way the game scores, everything feeds into these tracks where you know how well you're doing. You can tell how well you're doing.
Playing
It's
that game so
super
many times and not
satisfying.
feeling like there was one way to win is good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, you can
With
play
a game that has
completely
that much
different
engine
game.
building, it feels like you do have a chance no matter what, even when you spread yourself thin and also when you kind of focus on one thing. You do have different feelings of the way you can win.
Yeah,
And
the
you can
diff-
change it halfway through though
Yeah,
too,
and
right? Like we're
that's-
talking about the
that's
win
what I-
mitigation.
That's actually
like,
what I meant. Yeah,
you can start saying like I'm going to go through this track because this is what I'm trying, and then you're like, just kidding, I don't want to do that. I don't have this
Like,
or
resource.
this isn't doing anything for me, or
Yeah.
Or you start running out of a resource or something.
you've played it, right?
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember of that right sheet what
Which one I went
things you
for?
did? Did you do the gladiator thing?
I did not do the gladiator for sure because you and Matt did that, and I
There's
was
like the
"No, thank
circus,
you."
the gladiator, the traders, the politicians.
Yeah.
The you can
The
build
temples?
those temples.
Oh yeah, the temples. There's one that just gives you an engine where you can just turn one type of resource into another, and then again, and like
Yeah.
turn
That
it
was
into,
the one
like,
that I
three
did. Yeah,
resources.
and then you basically get up to the point where you have like loyalty points you're getting right from it, and it's just giving you a bunch, especially when you get all the
Yeah.
way to the top. And I was like, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please.
Yeah, it's a really
It's
fun
great.
game.
Try Hadrian's Wall.
So Jeremy, what's your hit of the year so far?
Well, it is one of the first reviews, if not the first review I did for MVM was Solomon Kane. I did say it was a top 20 game for me, and I believe I still stand by that. Now the game has a huge amount of
I
errors.
was gonna just say
Now,
that.
now, don't get me wrong. Like my
Bubbles
favorite
and
game of all
Rattles.
time is Mage Knight. It has one of the worst rule books ever. But that just goes to show you how much the game stuck with me because it's a heavy narrative game. So you're gonna have little errors in there. The cards had errors, but the game is so deep and it gets you so you're so immersed in this theme of Solomon Kane. Now I had never read the books. I didn't know anything about this guy at all, and I know nothing about the background, nothing about the author. Thank God I found out about the author. And here I am diving into this game, and I am all in. I'm staying up till 3 a.m.
Wow.
at night playing
Really?
this game on a weeknight.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't. So what this game is you're following this guy who's kind of like, he's like this Puritan person, warrior guy, and these virtues are watching over him. So you take the role of like these people watching down upon him that don't want anything to happen to him because he's so pure and he's so good. And what you're doing is you're rolling these dice and you're making choices where to slot them so that you can make certain things happen, positive or negative. So you're trying to keep the light going in between scenes so that you can determine like where his motivation is. How excited is he? Is he more enraged, or is he like more chill, or is he under stress and duress as he rides his horse to the next page? And then you go to where the next page is, and there may be like this scene where he's just arrived in town and he's at a bar, and your job is to go around to these people and find out information. Meanwhile, the evil, the darkness is coming, and there's darkness in every scenario, and these darkness miniatures will come around and they try to engulf him with darkness to lower his stats. But you, as the virtue, you are trying to influence his movement, everybody else's movement, and if you can't stop it and the darkness comes too close, You pay the resources to put yourself on there and then burst a beam of light to take all the darkness out.
The way you're describing this game,
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. This sounds awesome.
The simple fact that you're describing it from the fact that you play as this from a third person perspective, even in and of itself, sounds fascinating. It's like there's a puzzle of something happening, and you are a person trying to impact that puzzle.
You are, like, it is literally a game of timing and balancing, and like there's definitely this thing of like, how narrative is it? Because you don't feel like you are on a rails of a story. And they did, like, of course, it's based off short stories, real short stories, and they had to gamify some of the stuff of like, well, what if it didn't work out? Like, what if you kind of you messed up on a page, and you still got to figure out the story. You have like the best possible, good, and then bad, and then sometimes you just have good and bad endings. So there's that, right? So you can't, if you lose, you lose. You want to go back through it. It has 9 stories, and they're all different books. They are all based off these stories. I don't think one of them is made up. So if you read some of these these short stories, Solomon Kane has stories that are like 9 pages and ones that are like 80 or something like that. So it's like they've definitely stretched some, and then some are very short, like 2 hours, and then the other ones are like 4 because they have 2 acts.
Wow.
But I mean, like, there's stories about werewolves, there's stories about spirits, there's stories about people faking things, and I mean, like, there's one story, I'm not gonna even spoil all of it, but it starts with like something small where you're just trying to like chase a rumor, or you go into town and like somebody's being chased and you're trying to go like stop them from doing it because you're pure, right? You don't want to see this. And you end up, like maybe there's a beast and like the guy has been pinned as a beast and you're trying to figure out if he is or isn't, but the townsfolk are coming to get him. And you actually have to stop the townsfolk. You have to get to him before the townsfolk move across the board. And then you also have the darkness that's influencing this. They can't get to him either. Like, it's crazy, or like you just have to stop people from burning this guy at the stake. Maybe he is a spirit, maybe he's not. You got to make that choice. Like, you got to decide what you're going to do with him.
Interesting.
But you also got to stop the people and the darkness. So it's like,
well, that sounds intense.
So I mean, it's a very intense game, and like I said, there's errors on these cards. There's cards that you do to simulate combat, and it'll say something like Solomon Kane jumps on the table and thrusts his rapier through this person, or it'll be like, hey, you got scratched by this bear, and da 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 da. Like, they have this great writing that gets you all in on it, and there's just clunkiness along the way, and there's cards that you can't interpret because there's errors on them, and
So that's
it just shows, it's a final copy. There are cards to be redone, and there are rules there are ambiguities galore.
So there's an asterisk on your game.
There is definitely an asterisk on this stuff. But that's the thing. That's a testament to how great the experience was.
No kidding.
That I was able to look past that. I was able to make choices. I always look to rules. It's like, like Eldritch rules where it's like, the worst, you choose the worst. Like, I chose the worst in some situations and it worked out thematically. I made the best choice based on my roles, and I just had so much fun. I looked beyond its flaws to this great experience.
Well, I want to.
awesome.
So I don't think any of us have played this, right?
No.
None of us have played it. So I want to ask you this question then.
Yes.
What was it about the game? You said that you just stay up till 3 a.m. one night. What was driving you? Was it to that feeling of like, let me take one more turn, or was it like the narrative was so engrossing, or was it that like
you wanted to read the next story?
I just wanted to get to the next card.
You know what it is? It's just like when you read a book and you have that page turner. Like, when you're taking on these scenarios on that page, the writing is so damn good. Like, it is, before you roll a die, like, especially for someone who has not read this stuff. Like, for me, like, no context, I think it's Robert E. Howard or whatever, like, no context at all. So I didn't have anything to look forward to. I made sure I didn't like listen to any of the audio because it's well narrated, by the way, if people want to listen to an audio version, because these people love it. I didn't read one thing about it. I just played. And after playing, I went back and I listened to like the audio versions, and they're so good. But it's like, you can even tell when they deviated from the story, and it's still well written.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing. It's like, thankfully, the gameplay holds up what's written. And they found a way to gamify the things that you're just like, this is pretty cool. Because, I mean, there's cards that you're like putting different dice on to like check people's emotions and hold them up. There's like one part where you are chained. I think you're chained by your neck and you're being dragged across the board. You cannot stop it. But the thing is this guy is a braggart. So after you take your turn, you're like doing these checks because this guy is like talking trash to you. Like, I'm going to kill you, Solomon Kane. He's pulling you across the board. And you have to be like, check your will to like stay calm.
Oh
Like,
my
so you don't
gosh.
get angry and enraged because you can lose balance.
Huh.
You know, and then like when you go to the next scenario, you're so enraged that you can't make good rational decisions. So then you have more darkness
Man,
coming. More, yeah.
The gamification of what you're talking about sounds
Yeah, that game's so good.
interesting.
Honestly, I think all 4 of these games have been great.
I was just about to say that. This is the first time ever I think we've done anything like this on MVM where every one of the games I was like, I want to play this.
Right?
A heavy Lacerda game, not
Right.
my thing. I want to play it. I've played Hadrian Wall, but I want to play again. Like I was just getting enthusiastic even when
Yeah.
I was talking about the initiative.
Yeah.
Wanting
Well,
to
yeah,
play it
now
again.
I'm like, great. I'm Solomon Kane. Give me all these.
So
games.
yeah, they're not all great.
Yes.
Right.
Unfortunately,
We have some
They're
misses
not all
too.
great.
with all those
We have some
highs,
misses.
there are some lows. Now, I know if you've watched the channel much, you'll know that we try to stay pretty positive.
Yeah, we don't bash things.
And with that said, there are games that don't land with us the way we wanted them to. It might land well with you. These aren't necessarily bad games. Plenty of people might like them. But we each have a miss from 2021.
For sure.
And we're not gonna spend as much time going on the misses, so we're gonna share those and maybe why it missed with us. But we are gonna start back with Emily.
Yeah, and I think mine is a good first example because it's exactly what Jeremy was talking about earlier, where some good games are okay, some good games are good, but some games are great. Yeah. This one was just good for me, and I think the part of it was that I was expecting it to be great. It was Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
which I love. That was one of my favorite games of last year.
And this is maybe the last time Emily's on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just kidding.
Some paperwork.
It is
process
interesting though because as you may know, Lost Ruins of Arnak.
I loved it.
Was my number one game of
2020.
2020.
It was close for me. It was up there.
It was close for you.
I think Dune was my number one. But Dune and Lost Ruins, I go
They've
back.
got-
I
they've
still
got
go
some-
back.
yeah,
and
They go
forth
back
on.
and forth.
So what was it about it that
So
was it the hype that was set up for you?
It could have definitely been the hype because Ryan really loves this game.
I
He was like,
do.
you should play this game. You're gonna love
love
it.
it.
And
It's got everything.
But like I said, like my game group loves a lot of games, so I don't think I took that too seriously. But when I was playing it, I think I had an expectation just from how the game was being played that I was gonna feel more rewarded than I did. Where
Yeah.
I started to
that
feel
is
like
fair. It's a very small reward.
yeah, I started to feel like, I'm getting resource A to make it into B, to make it into C, which makes A again. And I'm like, why am I just making resources to make resources?
Yeah.
I didn't feel very rewarded. And even
a
in the
fair
end, I was
criticism.
like, okay, I did well, but I kept feeling this kind of like struggle of like, did I even do much this game? I did a lot of things,
Yeah.
but did they get a lot of
I mean,
impact?
you don't do a lot in that game. Like you're never like doing that one turn where you get like a plethora of points or resources. Like it's a bunch of small little incremental moves.
I would say by the fourth round, you will either have a big long round,
Yeah.
Yes.
or you will have a very short round, and you've missed it. You missed this game,
Right.
Like
Yeah.
this game, because the game feels and plays short. But you're gonna have to, like, if you figure out a good engine for the game and you have the right cards, you can make a very long fourth and fifth round.
Which you
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah.
or else you get nothing.
Yeah, or
some,
you don't get it.
some of your turns late game, especially if you've strategically climbed up the temple, you're able to fire off some things that really feel like a combo. But yeah, it doesn't happen every round.
And it takes to about round 4.
Yeah.
So you have 3 rounds where you're just setting up for
Right.
round 4, which for me, I'm fine. Like that was part of the game experience for me.
I just
right?
see that people I've seen a lot of people never get that engine going, and 2, feeling like it's a one-lane game where that research track
I mean,
is like,
it is kind of.
but
I mean,
early
you
on,
know.
like it's just, you can't take that away from other people's experiences, but I understand that because the first 2 plays I did feel that way too, where it was just like, wasn't too short because I'm pretty decent at deck building, but like the track felt like a way to win, and now I've won and played so many different ways that I've seen it people win differently, but there are people who will hold true to that. And
Yes, I know a
understand
lot of
that.
people who say you have to go up the track to win.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And
That's the
I
game.
don't
Just go up
think
the
that's
track.
the case.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. It is possible.
Got about
Well,
halfway
it's,
in one.
it's the most front-facing way to score points, and it is the
For
way
sure.
that most new players are going to look and. Sure, you can kill. You can do all these things. Oh, or I can just go up this track and get a bunch of points.
Yeah, all of it's tied to those cards too, which is one of the things. And I don't want to go. I want to talk about why it's one of my hits. But I do like all that variety of cards that come out,
but-
and some of those cards just make you feel like I've got this thing going on on my game
Yeah.
that no one else has
some
going
of them
on their
don't
game.
though, and that's the
Yeah.
thing too.
Yeah.
Like the game is going to be very dependent on how those cards come out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting an engine that works, or do you feel like you're fighting the entire game just to get one resource?
Yes.
Yeah,
And you're gonna have experiences like that.
that's fair. So my miss is all about expectations for sure. So it is Alien: Fate of the Nostromo, and this was in my mind. I love Horrified. If you know, I love the first Horrified. We've gotten Horrified American Monsters, and we're gonna have more content on that sometime in the near future. But I love Horrified. And my thought was that this was going to be a similar game, but heavier.
Right, like Horrified Plus, the next level of Horrified. Right?
Horrified Plus, and that was my expectation. I didn't think it was going to be wildly different than Horrified, but I thought it was going to be sort of plus, more aggressive, more difficult. And I'll be truthful here. I've played it once.
Okay.
And it was not Horrified Plus. I think, this is an IP game. It's a Target exclusive, at least for some period of time. So I think they made this even more accessible than Horrified, because it doesn't have that. If you've played Horrified, it doesn't have that wide variety of different monsters to figure out and puzzle out.
Is it still scenario based?
It is scenario based.
Okay.
So that's what's unique is you have objectives that come out, and those are variable. So there's a deck of those, and depending on player count, you flip those out. You have to complete those. Once you've completed those, you go on to sort of this main scenario, but you don't even know what that is until you've completed. And that comes from another deck of cards. So you'll end up flipping that over, and there's this sort of ultimate showdown ultimate. Those are all cool premises. It was what we were doing while we were doing that that felt like Horrified minus to me.
Okay. It was light.
Right? I mean, if you played Horrified, it's not like the most robust game in the world.
Right.
You're running around a board, picking stuff up, trading that stuff in to do things. This is exactly the same sort of thing you're doing here. It's just that instead of in Horrified, where you're trading those things in and having to think about how you're trading them in, and do I want to trade them in for this, or should I hold on to those so they protect me in Horrified? There's not that sort of thing going on. It is a little, because you can take some of these items, and it's not like, how Horrified just has abstract colored tokens you're picking up. It doesn't have anything like this. These are specific things you're picking up, and you can make cool things like grappling hooks and flamethrowers and use them to manipulate the alien. But it is definitely just a Horrified, a lighter experience than Horrified.
Sure.
And it wasn't what I was expected.
Well,
and I was like, I sat down at the table, I was like, oh man, this is going to be Horrified, but up here, and it just wasn't.
Gameplay aside, I think that there's a little bit of a dissonance there, because you look at Horrified, okay, and they kind of played it up, the movie monsters, and you know what kind of game that is, and then you see Alien, and you're like, okay, this is going to be deeper.
Well, it's
Yeah.
more
This
mature.
is going to be more mature. This is going to be scarier. This is going to, but it's not. It's actually the lighter game.
Which is so weird.
It is a weird choice that they made with Alien. Like Alien is such a there's so much baggage that comes with the idea. Not to mention, this is not the fault of the game, but that Nemesis came out, and Nemesis offers a certain experience of horror and survival.
And what if I didn't want Nemesis, but I want something maybe a little
right?
lighter,
And you're like, okay, I want lighter Nemesis, but kind of like Horrified, and then you pick up Alien, and it's not that. Well, and that's not. It's hard because expectations are a hard thing. Mm-hmm. It's not the game's fault.
Yeah, and I even said earlier that I don't like to judge things based on expectations.
But you have that expectation.
That is exactly what happened to me. I fell victim to that on this.
And you're
one.
like, oh, this is not the mature Alien game. Like this is for families.
And I've seen plenty of people reviewing it saying just that they enjoyed the experience and had fun, and it was a nice, easy game that they could get more of their family and more sort of non-gamers or less enthusiast gamers to the table with.
I'm hyped.
You know what?
I gotta take those stickers off.
I gotta say, we might. I kind of want to try it.
I'd like to play it because I think knowing what you're getting into, makes a huge difference in how you actually feel about the game.
I like to go in blind most of the time.
Well, so that's a great time because I think
it's like a way I create a blindness for myself. Like I just read,
Right.
I'll read the rule book, I'll go to the BGG page, and that helps me. But then when I see some reviews, I just go to, I guess I don't go in blind because I kind of just go to the criticism and just hear it out. Like now that I'm thinking about it, but like there's a way that I trick myself into thinking like, all right, I want to try it. because I don't want to always have that influence my purchases. Always. You guys gave some good detail though. It's still sitting up.
It's generally,
I got
that
box sitting up in there.
Whether it's board games or anything else, I find it generally better to go in things with mild to low expectations.
Right.
Sure.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah.
When you go in with very specific and high expectations in a certain vein,
It's hard to meet that.
Well, I
it
think
might not be.
That's my miss too. Was just because of that. So I'll talk about that. It's X-Men Mutant Insurrection.
This is the Elder Sign.
This is
sort of game?
so that's the thing, right? That is the thing. That's what everyone said. They're like, oh, this is going to be like Elder Sign, which I love Elder Sign.
Okay.
That game is full of so many interesting decisions. It's a puzzle. It is such a brain-burning puzzle to solve Elder Sign because you get a limited number of turns, you get a limited number of actions with these character powers, and you have to like roll dice, but there's mitigation. Like there's so much going on in Elder Sign that I love.
Okay.
And you take that and you combine it with X-Men, which is like I love the X-Men.
It should work, right?
Yeah, you love X-Men for sure.
I mean, I definitely.
The milk
If there's an
went bad.
X-Men fan,
So what we got, I mean, I understand the comparisons to Elder Sign, but they stripped out a lot of the complexity. The puzzle to solve in Insurrection is easy. Like you can just look at it and be like, well, this is the best action to take. This is obviously the best action. And it kind of has a little bit of that feeling, like you can start to get overwhelmed. But if you're a group of skilled players, and we played, I think, like on medium, like you can set the difficulty. I've only played it twice, I'll admit, because I played it once and was like, okay, let's try it again, a little bit harder. But still, we beat it without even like a problem. Which isn't what I want from an Elder Sign style game. Like, and that just wasn't what I was expecting because all of the publicity built it up as it's like Elder Sign, but with X-Men.
So what are you doing for people who don't know?
So it is kind of, the premise is kind of like Elder Sign. You're rolling these dice and you're setting them to cards.
Okay.
And these cards are like missions that you're setting the X-Men
To accomplish.
these missions. And you can put your character on one of these mission cards and you get your character's benefit there.
Okay.
So that feels like Elder Sign.
Like your X-Men powers. Okay.
But the difference is with Elder Sign, there's a lot of interconnecting like locations, and when some of these locations have bad things that happen, or like they have things you have to do to even like access those locations, or to start rolling dice there, or penalties you have to pay, and so there's this like puzzle of like efficiency when you need this guy to be in this location because his power is maybe the only way to beat this card.
Yeah.
X-Men didn't have any of that. It was like just roll your dice. Everybody rolls their dice, and you look and you say, "Oh, well, if we combine our dice, we can do this mission." That's always the best choice
Yeah.
because you want to complete the missions.
Kind of a one-laner.
Right, and it's like, okay, well, as long as we have the dice we need, and if we don't, well, let's try a reroll. Like, there's some strategy of like, okay, you have to decide before you roll which missions you want to send each X-Men to, and you have some powers maybe that work together. So you're like, we'll send them there, so that you can give me a reroll if I need it, right? But the level of the gameplay was like Thanos Rising, right?
Oh, okay.
Like it wasn't that Elder Sign experience that I was maybe promised.
Interesting.
And so the game just, as much as I
Were
love
you
X-Men,
promised it?
well,
Or was it in
no,
your
no,
head?
no, I mean, I did.
Oh boy.
Expectation, right?
No, and I think that's a good point. I think at least with these two games, not so much Lost Ruins of Arnak, as enthusiast gamers, we have to understand that these days with the marketplace for board gaming and the hobby growing the way it is,
a lot of lighter
we're
games.
going to see more games like this, particularly as outlets like Target are picking up more games and stuff like that. These publishers are going to take them into consideration. So we have to recognize, hey, they're not making all their games for us.
And I'm not even going to say the game is bad. It was just easy. And I don't like a cooperative game that's easy.
Yeah,
I want my
being a
cooperative
cooperative-
game to be hard.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I was hoping that wasn't the thing. Like, because when people say lighter, it also sometimes means that like it's not good enough for them in a sense, and I don't want that to be that way. But for you to say that it was easy is a more important thing, especially for cooperative games. Like, I don't want a cakewalk in a cooperative game. I want to have crazy decisions and big moments,
and I want to lose.
Because I want to have the big moment of feeling like I'm going to lose, or we need to make a serious decision right now. Otherwise, things will not be in our favor, or we're taking too big of a risk. Don't take that risk, dude. Like, let's think about this. That kind of stuff you want in a cooperative game. So it's
yeah. I mean, I think Pandemic is a light game.
Yeah.
But it is hard.
But
like,
the choices,
it is hard to
are
win
there.
Pandemic.
Well, Thanos Rising is no cakewalk either.
Thanos
Rising
Rising can be really hard too.
That whole Rising system is not.
But
easy.
but there's an element of that's luck based,
Sure.
where like the luck makes it hard.
Yeah.
And that's fine because that game's like 30 minutes.
A lot of games are like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. This game was just easy.
So, Jeremy, what's your 2021 miss?
Man, this is tough. So this is the game that we have been talking about quite often if you're in our Discord, and it's Cryo. Luke Laurie is one of my favorite designers, and Luke Laurie and was it Tim Jolly, I believe his name is?
I think so.
They did Manhattan Project Energy Empire, one of my favorite games of all time. One of my favorite worker placement games of all time. And in some form, this game sort of feels like that. It feels like it was built before that. It feels kind of dated. Yeah. It's a very dated design.
I think it was, right? This was an earlier design that just never got published.
Oh, really?
It had to be because it has some of these things, but it has some of the cooler. It has some of the cooler elements. That like it has these cool elements, like you're placing a worker down, and then you have like multiple things that you can choose for resources. You can take it for its resources, or you can put it to build your engine. Because just like Manhattan Project games, you're going to have to pull your workers off and put them on your board, and then run your engine that you created on your board. Okay, gotcha, check. Then you have the other part of these cards that are multi-use. One that upgrades your building, or you can flip the card over and make it your like in-game scoring points, or you can put it down here because you're going to eventually be building it to this tunnel that goes down and helps you score some area control. The thing about the game is that the other half of the game, the area influence part is just absolutely, it's not fun. It's boring.
The part at the bottom of the board?
Yeah, like that part of the game is boring, and that's what you're trying to get to. And everybody's kind of got this ticking time bomb that moves super fast, which is maybe good for some people because you can play this Euro game in like 60 minutes because it happens so fast. I play something on the board, you play something on the board, I play something on the board. Now we have this choice that we have to make, and it gets harder and harder because there's different locations that pop off, and you can destroy other people's pods. So you can destroy other people's way to score points in the game. And for some people, like I like interaction where you can do that, but you are trying to get all these pods down to the caverns so you can get points, and people can just destroy like a big chunk of the things that you're trying to score, and that just makes a game that's so short a dud. And then there's also this feeling of you got to race and get everybody into these spots in some parts because if you don't plan the game and you don't know it's quick, you're all of a sudden not prepared for getting these, getting your little crew pods to the ones that score the most. Yeah. And you don't have enough ability to do that. So you run out of engine in time, and it's over. And I found that there's parts of it that like I think that those cards are really cool. Like I like a card that you can make 3 good solid choices with it.
Multi-use cards are
awesome. It has abilities on it, but that's another big issue because the game only has like, I don't want to shorten it this much, but I mean there's only like 5 types of cards. There's only 5 cards. You could literally have someone who has the exact same engine as you.
Yeah, there's not a ton of
so you have like literally somebody who could be playing the exact same advantages as you. So it doesn't feel cool, but the powers are cool on the cards. And it's just like then there's just enough things there that bug me.
Have you
to the point where I kind of
there's a solo mode that they just released,
and
right?
I should say like out? The game is like, as I was saying, some games are like most games are okay. The game is okay. It's not a bad game, but there is something like just because of the faith of the designer, he's designed a solo mode for it, and they put a lot of work into it because I remember that was one of the initial reasons why he said you might want to check this out, and I am because I kept the game. I kept the game just for this moment to check out the solo mode, but honestly, like that might be its saving grace.
I'm still going to be just as excited for Luke Laurie's next game.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, I cannot wait for that.
It's not like I'm going to be like, oh, well, no. I'm dying for his next
hearing
game.
rumblings of that already, and we can't
I've been
wait.
seeing him post pictures of it online, and it looks
we're waiting for more now. You can have one okay game, bro. Like I'm so ready for the next one.
I don't think no designer's going to have a bad 100. You're going to have misses.
Yes, you need
even
to.
Fisher, even Feld, some of my favorite designers, it's like, okay, I don't need to play that game ever again.
Yeah, the future is going to hold a lot of hits and a lot of misses.
Wow, way to bring that back together.
That was called a segue, everybody.
Wow.
We got some hits, we got some misses, that's life.
And I have to announce it as a segue. It means it's a good one. But those were the hits and misses for the 4 of us in 2021. And as much as we ask you to comment below,
I definitely
absolutely comment below.
Tell me the hits that we have overlooked.
And they don't have to be from this year. What did you play this year That was a
Exactly.
big hit.
Right.
I don't want people to think like you got to have the newest and hottest. We just want to talk about the games we're playing. We can talk about
what you
forever.
play. I mean,
but,
Kanban EV
yeah.
is like, Kanban's been around forever.
Yeah, Kanban's
EV
been
might be new, but like we're still discovering old games that turn into hits.
I played
all the time.
Rococo.
Oh.
Like for the first time, I played
Yeah.
Rococo.
Oh, this year?
Good.
Yeah, that was the first time I played it. The new
I
version.
did too. My first
Yeah,
time
it was
this
the
year.
first time I
Hit
played it.
or
So-
miss?
Oh, it was a hit.
Oh.
It is a hit.
Was it a hit for
Yeah,
you?
it's a
too?
hit
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
hit for
definitely
sure.
a hit.
So anyway, put your hits and misses. Tell us what you think about our hits and misses in the comments below. And until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then. Chit Chat is sponsored by Fun Again Games, where everyone is welcome at our table. And your source for hard-to-find imports, liquidation games, new releases, and much more. Be sure to visit funagain.com to check it out.